What's happening, Hardscapers? This is episode 332 of the How to Hardscape podcast, where we talk about how you can start and grow your hardscaping business. And on today's episode, we are joined by Landon Kirby of Nob Hill Landscape. We get into a lot on today's episode with him, but especially going all in on his business, buying a property at the right time, and then also doubling down and buying a second property. When these opportunities arise, Landon has capitalized. So we get into all these different decisions along the way that has got Landon to where he is today in his business. The audio does start a little bit choppy, but it does get much better. So hang in there through this interview because it is a good one. And before we get into it, we want to say thank you to our sponsors. Cycle CPA. If you're looking for bookkeeping, accounting, CFO services, reach out to Cycle CPA at cyclecpa.com. Let them know How to Hardscape sent you for money off their services there. Patio SEO has hopped on board as a sponsor, and they are a leading marketing and brand building company in the hardscape industry. And if you don't know, this company is run by James Reed. We've had him on the podcast a couple of times, some of our more popular episodes, and he owns hardscape businesses across the country. And now you can have access to the same in-house marketing team that he has access to at patioseo.com. So if you're looking for a killer website, targeted ads, or data-driven strategies to grow, check them out at patioseo.com. If you're planning to go to Hardscape North America in Louisville, Kentucky, October 22nd to the 24th, you can use promo code VIPHTH to sign up, get 50% off your registration. That also gives us a little bit of a kickback and helps us here at the How to Hardscape podcast. And Knowledge Tree Consulting. George and Peter there are efficiency consultants in our industry, and I've had the privilege of having them both on one episode of the How to Hardscape podcast, and George multiple other times. Always great episodes, and I also got to sit down on a one-on-one with George and went through what they do for businesses, and I left that meeting with a lot of value, so I can't recommend them enough. If you want to learn more about what they do, go to knowledgetreeconsulting.com and get that conversation started with them today. And Knowledge Tree Consulting has a free webinar on October 16th on financials in your business. The link is in the show notes to sign up for that. And without further ado, let's get into today's episode. Today, we're joined by Landon Kirby. He is the owner and CEO of Nob Hill Landscape, located in Springfield, Illinois. Landon, I found Nob Hill just as we were talking there through the H&A Awards. You guys have actually won many more awards, as you mentioned there, and just seeing the professionalism behind what you guys have through your website, a giving back page, which was really cool to me, and just seeing the professionalism that you guys are bringing here. A pleasure to have you on. Landon, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm really looking forward to it. I have listened to the podcast a few times, so when you reached out to me, I was pretty excited about the opportunity.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. Let's get started to get to know a little bit more about you yourself. How did you get started in the industry? What brought you to the landscape construction, hardscape realm here?
Sure. It's a great question, and it's a pretty interesting and kind of long story. I guess I did not grow up in the industry. My family was not in the industry. I actually grew up on a small farm just north of Springfield here in central Illinois. I actually went to school and I have a degree in agribusiness and animal science. So absolutely nothing to do with landscaping or anything like that. Right out of college, I was fortunate enough to get a position with the USDA. I worked for the USDA for about 5 years, which it was great. It was in agriculture. It was my background. But to be honest, it was mostly office work. I had to work in an office all the time, and it just wasn't very, I guess, inspiring, or it didn't touch the creative side that I guess at that time I didn't even really knew I had. But long story short, I spent a few years with the USDA, and then after about 5 years working for the USDA, I had an old family friend reach out to me pretty much out of the blue, actually at a family funeral of all the things. We ran into each other, hadn't seen each other for probably 10 or 15 years. He had been in the lawn and landscape business for about 20. and he was looking to expand his business to another market, which was my area where I grew up and where I work now. And he approached me about, I guess, coming on with the business and helping them grow their branch down in Springfield. And I'll be honest, at that time, I just kind of was really tired or kind of uninspired working in an office every day. And I don't know that it would even have mattered what he approached me about. I probably would have taken the opportunity. And it was lawn care and landscaping. And to be honest, I started out really the first part was doing turf care. They owned a couple of Scott's lawn service franchises back in the day, so I learned turf care at first. So about 3 years, I learned turf care. I was a salesman. I was an operations manager. We grew our market. We acquired two other franchises to where I started out just as a branch manager for them, and then a year I was the operations manager of their whole lawn care management company. And that lasted about 5 years. And in that same time, I kind of took a liking to the landscape portion of it, the design portion, the creativity. Another branch that did landscaping. It wasn't near as big as the lawn care, but they did a little landscaping. And as I was growing the lawn business in Springfield, I was also had people reach out to me about landscaping. If we did that, you're doing our lawn care. Do you guys do landscaping? And I started selling landscaping for them, and we would literally bring a crew down from up north, and we'd do one job a week or something. And then it just kind of grew to where I needed to hire a couple guys, and then we had our own crew, and we did that for about a year. And then they gave me the opportunity to kind of go out on my own, and I basically took over their debt service and took over this branch and started my own company, Nob Hill Landscape Company, in 2011. From there, it was just me as the salesman, the bookkeeper, answered the phone, ran the crews, ordered the materials, sold the jobs, collected the money. It was just me and a one crew, about three guys for about 3 years, 2 or 3 years. Then we started to grow a little bit. And we stayed pretty steady with about 6 employees or so for about the first 7, 8 years. And then in 2019, we had the opportunity to purchase the property that we had been renting for our facility, our shop, and our yard. We had the opportunity to purchase that building and property. And at that time, it was kind of one of those things. It's like either kind of go in or kind of keep the safe route or take some chances. And my wife and I decided, okay, we're going to buy the property, and at the same time, we're going to remodel the whole building. We're going to put in some better offices. We're going to build a whole outdoor living showroom, and we invested in ourselves and back into that property, and we built like I said, outdoor, about 2,000 square foot outdoor living showroom. It has an outdoor kitchen, fire pits, patios, water features, and it doubles as our facility. But it's really easy to bring people there for design presentations and show them the showroom so they could really get a good touch and feel of what we're trying to sell them. But what that also did was it gave me a central spot to bring people for those presentations. Yes, we had some projects they could go look at. I could set up a tour, that type of thing. But with that, you're not in control of how that place looks all the time, whether the kids' toys are out or it's not always presentable. So we invested in that showroom, which really gave us a chance to show people what we're capable of doing. And that really helped get us more visibility. We invested quite a bit into marketing, building our website, getting into social media. We do a decent amount of marketing in town. We have a few billboards, we do print ads, we do some radio. So as far as our industry, I would say we do quite a bit more marketing than most people in our market at that time. And combine that with building that outdoor living showroom for people to come see, really increased our visibility and really started to set that growth pace we've been on for a while now.
What does the company look like now in terms of number of employees and people in the office there?
So great question. 2019 was when we purchased that property and we built our showroom, our first showroom. We actually have two now. We built our first showroom. There was myself basically running all the operations and the sales and all that part of things. And we had a crew of 6 people. So it was myself, six guys, and that would be full like in season. We would go down to only a couple over through the winter. So myself and about six people. Today, it's myself and a staff of 26. We have two locations now, so we have two outdoor living showrooms. One we just installed this year. We purchased the property last year. We run 4 to 5 hardscape crews every day, maintenance, landscape maintenance crew, 3 designers, 2 salespeople, office staff of 2 or 3, and about 15 guys in the field. So in about 6 years, we've like I said, we've gone from 6 to 26 employees. Our gross revenue by the end of this year will be about 5 times it was that year. So we've been on about a 50 to 60% growth rate every single year in about the last 5, 6 years. So that's created its own set of challenges, of course, as you're growing and nobody has a blueprint for you of how to grow and how to add employees and what different, how you need to change your organizational chart and build your processes and build your systems and all of that stuff. So growth went really good for a couple years, and then it kind of was at the point where I needed to bring myself kind of out of the day to day and be more working on the business instead of in the business, so to speak. And that's when things really started to change with my role and employee development and guiding and guarding our company culture. You get that many people, all it takes is one bad apple or one bad attitude or one person that doesn't see your vision and doesn't isn't on board with you, and it can really it can take you down a road you don't want to go and really cost the company a lot of money. It could frustrate everybody. So my role has evolved from, like I said, about 6 years ago, where I was selling, designing, inventory, pricing, billing. I was doing all of that, to where now my day to day is really about employee development, making sure our system and processes are in place, growing our efficiencies or improving our efficiencies, I say, and just overall recognizing opportunities when they come and be prepared for those opportunities. Because as we've grown, those opportunities have came to us in different ways that we didn't experience 6 years ago. Our visibility is much more out there. We're much more prominent. I participate in a lot of different networking groups in town, so we're very involved in the Chamber of Commerce. There's a couple other like industry related networking groups and business owner networking groups and different things. So we're very involved in the community that way. We're very involved. You mentioned our giving back page on our website. That is definitely something that's very important to me and my wife as we built the company. We recognized that we were given opportunities along the way, and I just think it's important to see those people that are out there and that they're working hard and they're going above and beyond. And that's usually when we get involved in something in the community is we want to partner with somebody that sees that too. And so we've done a few things, from going into high school classes and helping their landscape design and redoing a design for the school. We donate time to our state fair and like 4-H kids and ag groups. We've done a few things with a little elementary garden club. Lots of different things that we get involved with. And one of the ways we've been able to do that, I mentioned our outdoor living showroom. Well, we built that to where it actually doubles as an event space on the weekends. So we actually host some of these fundraiser events or different ways to raise some money for different charities and groups. And we'll hire like a local caterer. We'll bring in some musicians, and then we use our marketing platform and our visibility to help promote those events, to bring people to our space. For sure, we like to get people to our space, but it's just more about raising money for a different cause and getting people together. And yeah, it just happens to be at our space, so people recognize, this is a really neat outdoor space with this kitchen and patio and fire pits, and we have all kinds of nice low voltage lighting, and we've hosted a few events that are anywhere from like 25 people to 250 people. And over the probably last 5 years, we've raised $50,000 to $60,000 for these groups just by people coming together. And we usually do the events where we get sponsors. So It's not like most times it's not even a ticketed event. We just ask for people for donations, or we let the different groups do a raffle or something like that. But it's been a thing that's really caught on well for us, and it's something we're definitely proud of. And it's real, like I said, that giving back part's really important to me as we grow to not forget where you came from.
There's so many different questions that I've made notes here.
Sorry,
No,
that was
no,
long-winded. That was
that was
long-winded on
great.
my part.
That was really great. I want to go back to that decision back in, I
Yes,
believe you said 2019 to purchase that
2019.
property that
Yeah.
you mentioned. Quite a major investment, not just for the property, but you also mentioned that you decided you were going to build it out. You were going to build that outdoor space. It seems like that was like a big turning point for the company, that decision that you made there. What was that decision like with your wife to kind of go all in to what you were building with the landscape company? What were you know, how did you come to, yes, we're going to go all in on this?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it was a big decision. I mean, it's quite an investment to go from renting a property to investing basically, basically you're investing everything you have into this thing you believe in. And my wife at the time, she still worked full time, and we had a long discussion about things, and we had, like I said, we've been renting that property, and for about 6, 7 years, we just, we were doing well. We were building great projects. We had a really nice staff, even though it was small. We had a great staff, but it just kind of felt like we were spinning our wheels, you know. And we looked at each other and we're both like, if we're gonna really do this and we're gonna invest in something, there's nobody better to invest in than us, to invest in yourself. And so, yeah, we took a leap of faith. We believed, I believed we could do it. She believed we could do it. And we did. We went all in. I mean, we bought the property and then we did a whole remodel that cost more than the property itself. So we really doubled down on it. And I don't know, man. I think, like I said, you just have to really believe in yourself and believe in what you're wanting to do. And we felt like we were working so hard all the time, but we weren't. We were just spinning our wheels. We weren't getting there. And we needed something that made us different. We needed a little bit of a reason for people to call us. Yes, our projects were great, but we were still relatively small and unknown in a small market. Even, I mean, Springfield's not that big a market, but just, I guess, looking at the business and knowing that, okay, we're gonna purchase this property. Yes, that's more than the rent was for the mortgage, and now we're gonna build out this showroom. And boy, I hope it makes people come here. And what's scary about that whole thing, or what turned out to be even scarier, is that's 2019, and we all know what happened in 2020. That was right on the heels of COVID. And here we've just invested all this money into this property, and literally months later, the whole world shut down. And you're like, are we even going to be able to do this work? Are they going to call landscaping essential? We didn't know. We just literally invested all this, and now you can't have public gatherings. You can't have people come to your place. Like it created some challenges right in the beginning, but we adapted. Our showroom has, like I said, has an office inside, but also has an outdoor area with a patio, and we have TV monitors. So we were able to have people come in for presentations, but they didn't even have to go inside. You could stay outside, and you could do your distancing. So that allowed us to get through those first few hiccups. And then, as we all know that are in our industry, once that kind of changed, everybody was investing in their homes. Everybody wanted patios. Everybody wanted a pool. So our business just took off like everybody else. So I think, taking that leap right at that time, not knowing where it was going to go, and then our industry really taking off, it was really great timing. It made us more efficient. It made our sales easier. It made all those things make sense. And it did set the stage for our growth over the next 4 or 5 years.
And then last year you bought another property. Was that something that also came up as like an opportunity, or were you seeking this out and trying to find that second property?
Great question. 100% was not looking at all. This property it was also a small landscape company that mainly did landscape maintenance, but it had been here for about 35, 36 years, 37, actually, I think. and it needed some TLC. It was a nice property. It's very visible. We get great road traffic, which comparatively, you don't know this, but our other property is kind of right on the edge of town. So we don't get a lot of like there's only maybe like 50 cars that go by every day. Our new property gets 20,000 cars a day. So the previous owner, I mean, literally approached me completely out of the blue. One day I was walking around one of my projects that's downtown Springfield, a fairly large commercial project, the one that won the H&A award. I was walking around down there, actually 2 days after Christmas, and this lady approached me and said, "I've been wanting to meet you. I've never met you. And somebody told me to come look at this project before I met you." And we met, and within 20 minutes, she was asking me if I was interested in her property and if I had a place in the company for her to come work because she wanted to work for a while. And I was like, "Well, I just met you 20 minutes ago. Let me think about this." I was not looking, had no intentions of adding another property at all. But as my wife and I talked and we looked at it some more and we saw the opportunity and what we could do with it, within about 6 weeks, we came to an agreement with the lady and we signed a contract. And a year ago in April 24, we purchased the property. And then we spent about, I don't know, the rest of last year, kind of, we utilized the space a little bit for some offices, but we spent that next, probably pretty much all of last year kind of planning and deciding what we were going to do as far as building out the showroom. And then March of this year, we started building out the showroom here, finished that in May, had a grand opening in first part of May. But we built a second complete outdoor living showroom that has an outdoor kitchen, patios, sidewalks, water features. This one we did quite a bit different. It's more like a model home or like where someone would actually live. There's a home on the property and then a separate, like what we call our design studio. And they're connected with this awesome green space in between with sidewalks, water features, like I said, and right parallel to a road that gets 20,000 cars every single day. So I wanted it to be a showroom, but I also, like I said, I didn't want it to be so much of just a hardscape showroom where you just have different types and colors of pavers and you have all the different mixtures and patterns, the little sections of those. This we turned into, like I said, it's more of a model home where somebody walks in the gate here and the first thing they say is, "Man, I could live here." And that's what I was looking for. I wanted this to be a lot of our projects are, 25, 30-year-old landscapes that need redone, refurbished, or just need a complete makeover. And that's exactly what this property was. It hadn't been touched for several years. Everything was 30 plus years old from the shrubbery to the hardscapes and the design. So I really wanted it to be just like if somebody called me and said, "Hey, our landscape's 30 years old. What can you do?" And that's really what we did here. We gave it a complete facelift all the way around the property, and it shows. I mean, when people come here, it definitely catches you, and you start looking at all the different things that are going on. I mean, it's a relatively small space; it's only an acre, but we did a lot with it. And like I said, it's very comfortable. We just hosted a Chamber of Commerce event here as well, more like a garden party because it has a lot more softscape space. But we're using this place as small events also. We're looking at renting it for small, wedding showers, small weddings, maybe engagement parties. We've had a lot of interest in those type of things. We get a lot of interest for people that want to just take prom pictures, graduation pictures, those type of things, because we do have a really, really, really pretty fountainscape out front this makes a great background. So again, one of those things, not looking for the facility, but in the last 5 or 6 years, my role of stepping away from the day to day and working on the business was part of that is being prepared when those opportunities come at you. And I think that was just one of those things that the opportunity presented itself. And was it something I was thinking about? Absolutely not. But I immediately could see how it would work for us and how it would continue to improve our visibility, continue us on that growth pattern. It moved us to like we are right in the center of where all the growth is happening residentially in our market. So we're on the busy side of town. All the new homes are right like down the road. And we weren't far away before, but just being, 10 minutes different makes a lot of difference with who sees you and who recognizes you. And people can pull into our little parking lot here, park right by the water feature, walk in up and down the sidewalks, and you get a good feel of what we could do with your property.
We want to take a break from today's episode to thank our sponsor, Cycle CPA. It's crucial to review your financial statements on a monthly basis so you can diagnose areas for improving your business's financial health early before they become significant issues. Too many contractors wait until the end of the year to review their financials as they file taxes, when it's often too late to take action to change the outcome. Cycle CPA not only handles bookkeeping and taxes, but they also ensure that you're armed with financial data on a monthly basis to make key business decisions. They offer benchmarking, cash flow forecasting, and assistance in developing targets for financial metrics. With their team of accountants specialized in the hardscape and landscape industry, they currently work with hundreds of companies in this field. Visit cyclecpa.com, and for $200 off, mention the How to Hardscape podcast. Now back to our episode. We want to take a break from today's episode to talk about marketing. Are you looking to take your hardscape business to the next level? Well, this is brought to you by Patio SEO, the leading marketing and brand building company in the hardscape industry. And if you don't know, this company is run by James Reed, who owns multiple hardscape businesses across the country. And here's the kicker. You're not just getting access to any team. You're getting access to the very team that helped grow James's own companies, plus hundreds of others in the industry. Whether you need a killer website, targeted ads, or data-driven strategies to grow, Patio SEO has got you covered. They've been in your shoes and know exactly what works. We've had James Reed on the podcast a couple of times, and they're some of our more popular episodes, talking about branding, talking about how he's built companies across the country. And with that, he needs lots of leads, which means he's had to perfect his branding and marketing. And now you can have access to that same in-house team that he has access to for his own hardscape company. So if you're ready to build your brand and see some serious growth, check them out at patioseo.com. That's patioseo.com, or follow James on Instagram at road to 100ms. That's road to 100ms. Let's get your business the attention it deserves. Now back to the episode. And between the two locations, do you separate like different operations, or is that second location more so like a showpiece? Maybe you have people working in the office there. And if so, how do you divide the operations between the two different locations?
Great question. So we do divide it. Our original location is where all of our production teams operate out of. So we have all our production, design, build teams, our maintenance teams. That's where we have our bulk storage for materials, all our equipment, our shop. The second location is more of design and sales. So actually administrative and sales. Our design staff is still located up at the other place, but we have our administrator, office manager is located here, her administrative assistant, and then my wife and I have an office here along with our operations manager. So there's about 5 of us that work at the second location that I would say is pretty much administrative and sales. And then the other location is production and design. And we're lucky, they're only about 10 minutes apart to get to each place. But being under separate roofs when you had always operated under one definitely presents a lot of challenges, especially with communication. So again, I think we were prepared for that opportunity because we had focused on our communication and our systems and our processes the 5 years before that. Just growing the business. If you don't build those processes and build those systems as you're growing, you're going to fail. You're going to grow way too fast. Your quality is going to go, pardon my French, but your quality is going to go in the shitter completely because you're not out there. Your efficiencies fall, your quality drops. So it's imperative to have those processes built so you can train your staff and they know what you're expecting and they meet those expectations. And when everything's clear like that, it works so much better. So we had really focused on that just because we were growing so fast. But then you throw in the second location, and that makes it imperative that you not only you communicate with your staff, but your staff communicates internally, which is sometimes the hardest part. You can send as many emails as you want, you can make the calls, you can have meetings, but if it all stops when you leave the room, you're going to go nowhere. So it's important that they understand how important the communication is internally with themselves, but you also have to let them grow. You have to let them fail. You have to let them learn. And that's really hard when you pull yourself out as a business owner and you've got it going and man, your projects are so good and everything's flowing. And then it's like, okay, if I'm gonna be the best for this company, I kind of have to step away from that and I have to focus on these other things. And being self-aware of those things is hard and letting go is hard, but making sure your processes are in place, your communication is good, and that is what your people practice that too. That's really hard to get them to understand the importance of it. But once you start giving them goals and you start being clear about expectations, and everybody wants to meet your expectations. Everybody wants to do well, and everybody wants to know they're doing well. So we have weekly staff meetings, we have weekly production meetings. I host most of them at our second location because there's less distractions from the construction crews. So we're not distracted. We focus on what the task at hand. Um, those meetings are very important, but it keeps everybody knowing where they are and what's of important, what needs to be prioritized as that changes as you grow. It helps define their roles as the company grows and evolves. Their roles evolve too. I mean, that naturally happens. So you may think that your role is this the first 6 months of the year, but man, it's going to evolve into something else. And finding those people that recognize that and want to grow and want more and want to do more. I mean, that's the key. You got to get the right people in the right seats. And I've been very fortunate as we built this that I have focused on that in our hiring and our training. I'm not so set on your previous experience in our industry as much as that you want more. Like you want an opportunity that maybe your other company didn't give you, or maybe in your life you just never been given the opportunity because people didn't think you could do it. And I want people that want that opportunity and they recognize the opportunity. And when they do, man, it's a beautiful thing. You all grow together. The company grows. Nobody's bending over backwards and killing themselves and working 80 hours and stressing and all those things. But your processes and you have to stick to them, and your people have to understand the importance of that.
I already know I've got way more questions that we have time here, Landon, but thank you for that. This makes it very easy for me. I have so many different avenues that I could go down here, but I do want to touch more so on, you mentioned employees that want more and you want to hire
Yes.
those employees.
Yes.
How do you know that that's an employee that wants more? Because during an interview, they could say whatever you want them to say, but do you find it within like a certain period of time after you hire them that this is an employee that wants more, that fits in the culture that you've established? Or how do you find that employee?
Yeah, a great question. I mean, you're definitely not going to pick up on all of that in a single 1 hour interview. You're definitely not. They can tell you whatever that you want to hear, and then 6 months into the job, they are just not what you thought and not what they said they were. I'm fortunate that that's getting few and farther between when I am interviewing people. Sure, I still don't hit them. We don't hit home runs with all of them. That's for certain. But one thing I've noticed, as our brand has grown and our visibility has grown, we are attracting a higher quality employee. They want to come work somewhere when they tell people, "Oh, I'm working at Nob Hill," and they say, "Oh yeah, I saw those billboards," or "Oh yeah, I've heard of them." They don't want to. I work at Nob Hill. Never heard of those guys. Are they even in town? What do they do? We've built our brand so well that it's starting to attract higher quality employees. And yes, in my interview, it's evolved to where I'm not the one that is interviewing our field staff anymore. Our production manager interviews those. So I'm more interviewing our management staff and operations and sales and more the, I would say, administrative and professional side of our business. So when I'm having those interviews, I might actually do two or three interviews with that person. But it comes pretty clear when you're looking for someone that you're hiring for that role or more of a salaried position or salary plus commission or whatever you want to call it. It comes pretty quick with either their past experience or why they're coming to you. And I mean, I usually in that interview, I'm asking them, you know, what do you want? What do you want to do? Where do you want to be? What are your goals? And if somebody's like, I don't really know, haven't thought about that. That doesn't turn me off completely, but it does tell me that maybe I'm going to have to coach them a little bit more into understanding that, yeah, you need a 3-year goal, you need a 5-year goal. Do you want to be a salesman forever, or do you want to be the sales manager? Do you want to be a designer, or do you want to be our senior designer? Do you want a career? Are you looking for a job, or are you looking for a career? And we provide careers, we provide opportunities for people that come in and start on a maintenance crew, can work their way up to a construction crew, can work their way up to a salesman or a designer. I mean, one of my designers right now, he started with me 6 years ago, part-time on a construction crew. He worked in field for a year, and we got close to the winter time that year, and he's like, "Hey, I'm really interested in landscape design. I don't know if we have any need for that, but I'm really interested in learning more about that." And I'm like, "You know what? You coming to me and just telling me that right there shows me that yes, we have an opportunity for you." And I brought him in, and he became a design assistant. He worked with our seasoned designer for a while. Then he became a designer himself, and now he is our lead senior designer after 6 years of working with us. His experience in the field went right into design work, but he wanted more. He wanted another opportunity. He didn't want to be installing all his life. He likes landscaping. He's naturally a green thumb. He likes plants. He likes all that. So he had an interest too. And when you have an interest in the industry and you want to grow and you want another opportunity, it's my job to provide those and see that and see that, okay, yes, maybe I didn't need another designer when he approached me, but I saw the opportunity of how we could grow right into him and he could grow with us. And it's worked great. So again, it's being able to recognize those opportunities from whether it was a new building or a new employee growing and moving up, or providing that career ladder or that organizational chart, which we have one of those, and I post that in both of our offices that shows where everybody is right now, and I have it literally on there that shows 3 years of growth. These are the positions we're going to need. Here's the opportunities right now that if you meet your goals here, you're going to grow right along with us, professionally, personally, all those things. So I think it's important that you're clear about your vision, you're passionate about what you do. When I talk to people in interviews like this or interviewing an employee, I mean, it doesn't take very long for people to realize that I really love what I do. I mean, I absolutely do love the industry. I love coming to work every single day. I joke with my staff all the time that, I still have sleepless nights. Don't get me wrong. 5 years ago, I had a lot of sleepless nights when you're trying to make payroll and you're trying to make things work and get the next sale. My sleepless nights are different now. It's because I'm literally thinking about all the things that we have to do the next day, how excited I am, which one am I going to tackle, what am I going to do, what meeting am I having? It's sheer excitement that I want the next day to start already. It wasn't, oh man, here comes another day and what's going to go wrong? It's not that anymore. It's literally, I don't know, man. It's hard to describe, but I am literally excited about every opportunity that we have every day, that for ourselves as a company, but for our staff, for our people, the opportunities that come our way from giving back to the community and those other opportunities and getting involved with other organizations. I don't know. I think when you can be clear about your vision and clear about your passion and people see that, it makes them want to work here. It makes them want to stay here. I mean, like I said, my main job is to guide and guard the company culture and create opportunities for people and develop the employees. And it's not much different than, coaching a sports team or something like that, which I grew up with all that in high school and college too. So it's, looking back, I kind of thought I wanted to be a coach at one day, but teaching didn't pay enough, so I didn't go down that road. But naturally, now as my role with the company has evolved, I'm definitely coaching. I'm definitely developing the employees. And man, nothing's more exciting than to see somebody, like I said, start from a part-time seasonal employee to where now he's your lead designer. It's nothing more gratifying to see that happen. And as a company to be able to grow and provide that opportunity for those people. I mean, it's great. Like I said, it's gone from six people or six families to 26 families that you help support and guide. And when they love coming to work, you know that just portrays with their personal life at home, being happy when they get off of work, being happy when they go to work. I mean, nobody wants to go to a job that they hate every day, and there's no point of that. So we try to bring people in that want that and want to grow.
Did this sort of mindset of being a coach and providing these career paths come naturally to you when you first started the business? Did you know that you needed to grow into the person that you are today? Or did, you mentioned you're part of a lot of networking groups, and Chamber of Commerce groups and so on and so forth. Did exposure to this really help you develop yourself into that person that you are today and providing career paths, providing coaching and so on, and recognizing that that's the business owner that you needed to be, not the business owner that's in the field working in the business?
Yeah, definitely. The coaching part and the teaching and all that, it does come naturally to me because, like I said, I was involved in sports in high school, college, and I did think about becoming a coach at one time. So that part I like doing. But did I know that 5 years ago, 6 years ago when we were growing and building the business? Absolutely not. You don't realize that when your head's down and your head's working and you're trying to grow the business, but you're so much still involved in every project and every sale and every design. You don't see those things as much. But as you're growing, it's almost like I don't want to say an epiphany or the light bulb goes off, but at some point you're like, man, my value to this company is not being on that job building that wall every day. My job is helping us prepare for the next job and sell the next job or make our process or define our process a little bit better. So definitely getting exposure to other business owners, other companies that maybe not in our industry, but they have scaled. They started out small and now they're a big, well-known company in town. Being exposed to them. About 4 years ago, I started using the Harvest Consultant Group. It's a landscape consulting group. I started meeting with them and just having calls, and then did an in-person visit, and that's kind of what really got me kind of leaning that way. It was like, I'm trying to get everybody else to grow, or I'm trying to coach everybody else to grow, but I need to be the one that grows first. And I have to be the one that steps out of my comfort zone and really, like I said, works on the business and not in the business. So definitely as we've grown and as I've had exposure to some of these other business owners in different groups and going to the NALP conference, going to H&A, and you follow people on social media and maybe not right in your market, but you see them in different places. And I think it naturally you start to see that. Definitely working with hiring a consultant and getting some exposure with the consultant got my brain thinking, like I said, more on employee development processes, systems. If I'm going to scale, I can't be the one that does it every single day. I have to have a clear, direct process of this is how we build this to get the quality that we want at the end. We have to have a quality control measure, all those things. And that first experience with a consultant, and then you know following like the EOS system of entrepreneur operating system and the traction book, and literally holding yourself accountable and looking in the mirror more instead of looking out the window, all those things that they say, it's 100% true. you know uh I went to a session one time at one of the conferences, and this very well known consultant in our industry, he starts off by saying, have you ever been in the room with your employees or your guys, and you're so frustrated with what's happening, and you're like, they leave, and you're like, man, I'm like surrounded by a bunch of idiots. Like, what is going on? And he's like, And everybody in the room is like, oh yeah, yeah, I felt that, I felt that. And he's like, okay, let's think about this. He goes, who hired them all? Okay, yeah, yeah. Who trained them all? Right, yeah, who trained them all? Okay, yeah. So, are we really sure that we're surrounded by idiots? Like, it just kind of makes you like look in the mirror and like, was I clear in training? Did we have a clear process? Was everything very clear that I'm setting those guys up to succeed, or am I setting them up to fail and then pointing the finger? And when you start really analyzing what you're doing, and when you're still self-aware and you're not absorbed by things, and you can still see that and recognize that, I think that's what helped me is yeah, I knew what I wanted them to do. I knew how I wanted to do it, but did I have a clear written down process for everything? Did I have follow through? Did I have measures to make sure that was happening? Was I training everybody right? Were we training enough? And the answer to most of those was no. So taking ownership of that and knowing that if you're going to grow and you're going to improve, you got to start within. You got to start with yourself and get uncomfortable, get out of your comfort zone and do the things that help you grow will make it so much easier to explain to your staff and help them grow. So it definitely has developed over the last 5, 6 years, my role. But I think once it, like I said, once that epiphany or that light bulb went off, then I just became all in on that. I became obsessed with it. And that's all I think about all the time is how can I make this more clear? How can I make it more efficient? What can I do to make my staff's job easier instead of the opposite of them? How do they make your job easier? When you figure out how to make their job easier, yours is automatically going to be easier. But recognizing that is really hard for some people sometimes, I think. And it took me a while too. But like I said, once you see it and once you're like, man, I need to get better at this stuff and will make everybody else better. Once you see that, then I think, the sky's the limit, man.
Hey, are you planning to attend HNA Hardscape North America, October 22nd to the 24th in Louisville, Kentucky? Well, you can use our promo code VIPHTH to get 50% off your tickets, or you can click the link in the show notes below to register for this. I've gone the past 2 years. It is awesome. A massive trade show along with the Equip Exposition with more than 1,000 exhibits, 42,000 square feet hardscape house, as well as a 30-plus acre outdoor demo yard that you can demo equipment. There's the HNA Awards ceremony. There's lots of educational sessions throughout the day, and there's more than enough events before and after the trade show itself. I've always enjoyed my time. I'll see you there. Use the code VIPHTH to get 50% off your tickets and register sooner rather than later because tickets do increase leading up to the show. As landscape contractors, we're usually masters in the field, but in the office, things can get a little bit more complicated. And one place where a lot of landscapers could improve is when it comes to knowing your numbers. And to help your business become more profitable and stress-free, Knowledge Tree Consulting is hosting a free webinar on October 16th. Learn how to get more financial clarity so you can make better decisions as a business leader. I've added a link to the free online event in the description. Now back to our episode. 2 more questions here, Landon, so feel free to take as little or as much time as you want with them based on your own schedule here. So you did say organizational chart. You display that visually, but I really love that you display also an organizational chart of where the company will be in the future to show the opportunities that are available. How do you decide what those opportunities are? How do you know what those roles and those openings will be to both motivate your employees as to where they are today and where they could be tomorrow, but also the business itself? How do you kind of decide on that?
So, of course, just like everybody else, every year we have a budget strategy meeting over the winter months. And then we actually do a mid-year one in like July. So we start every year with a budget strategy meeting. We review our numbers, where we were last year. We review where we set goals for ourselves, like where we want to be, and we usually make them where they're, most of them are not, I want to say easily attainable, but we make a very attainable goal based on growth over the last few years. And then we put one out there that's like a stretch, like this is what we really want to get to, And when you have motivated people, that's what they're looking for too. But every year, we have this strategy meeting. We look where we are, and okay, we're gonna forecast, 30% growth this year. So what does that mean for staffing? Can we do that with current staff? No, we can't grow by 30% without adding some more staff. And does that mean adding just install crews? Does that mean, okay, now we've got five install crews? I think we probably need to look at this about, well, we might need a field supervisor. We might need one guy that's just in the field, making sure that he's going around and quality control checks and he's helping the guys with their day to day. And then the previous manager becomes a project manager and he's dealing with subcontractors. He's doing ordering, he's doing scheduling. So as you're growing, you're kind of looking at, we always, when we're building our budget and looking at the growth for the year, we always also go over every single person on our management staff. We talk about what are your current roles, what roles do you really get bogged down with, and what is in your role that maybe could be like shifted over to creating this other position. All those positions get based on growth, of course, growth of the company, sales, revenue, but we know that we can't just continue the same path if we're planning that growth. So what we do is we take our current chart and then we look at that and, maybe you're going from, okay, I have a sales manager, production manager, maintenance manager. And as you're growing and this maintenance manager is now going to have three crews and this production manager is now going to have five crews. So maybe we need to add director positions. Maybe there needs to be a director of design and build. Maybe there's a sales and design director. Maybe there's a maintenance director and he has these managers underneath of him. So you're creating those layers. And if your goal is to, double your size in 5 years from revenue, you're probably going to about double on the staff. And that current structure is not linear. I mean, it doesn't just go one way. You kind of have to build layers in there to make sure that you get the right people in the right seat, but they're also allowed or not allowed, but their description or their roles in their job is what they really love to do and what they really excel at. The more you can get people to only do what they love to do and what they're really good at, that makes all that much easier. And you eventually see as this grows, it's creating those opportunities. And one of them we're creating right now. Just we're in a growth mode for next year. We're already thinking about things. We're about to create a role for purchasing and inventory, like all of our purchases, all of our on-hand inventory, all of our jobs, how we allocate materials. But we've got to where, lots of our jobs are complete outdoor living design installation. So we're doing everything from the beginning to the end. And many of these are multiple six-figure projects. We're talking people investing hundreds of thousands of dollars in their backyard, which requires all kinds of different materials. You're building a pool, you're building a water feature, you're building an outdoor kitchen. You kind of get to where you're only putting out fires and you're not being proactive. And right now we're working on creating this position because we know that we've been lacking in anyone having the time to do that in addition to their current role. So we're creating a position right now. We're moving a guy from our field staff. He's been with us 6 years, but he's very detailed. He's very numbers driven. He's very intelligent. It's kind of a role that's actually made for him, but literally not, if that makes sense. But looking at everybody's roles every year, or actually every 6 months, we're looking at their roles and how they've evolved and what's falling under their umbrella that maybe shouldn't be or maybe is and needs transferred. So you're looking at that, and like I said, just creating this other position. This is one that I think we're going to create that is actually going to pay for itself because we're going to have material more on time. We're not going to be making, last minute purchases that maybe aren't the best cost savings. We're going to really eliminate a lot of opportunity costs for people having to go and do last minute purchasing. And then, knowing what you have in your inventory and being able to utilize the inventory and update the inventory, all those things will pay for that role. So as we're each year in the middle of the year, at the beginning of the year, and we're doing those meetings, we recreate that chart. That chart has where we are now and where we're going to be in a year. And I always do 3 years. I'm a big 3 to 5 year planning person. So, because I think you need to be planning right now and preparing right now for what's going to happen in 3 years. Just to be honest, I mean, if you don't and you wait for it to happen, it'll never happen. So, if you prepare for it now, when that opportunity comes, you're ready. And so that's why I really love having that current chart. But here's our 1 to 3 year chart, and it just shows people that they're not stuck just planting shrubs forever. They're not stuck just sending out bills. There's going to be another branch. There's going to be another this, and it just creates career opportunities for everybody and a goal and something to be excited about moving towards.
Well, Landon, I've already held you up longer than I said I would. I have many more questions for you. Well, if you ever want to come back for a round two, I think we can save a lot of these for a round two if you'd want to
Okay,
in the
yeah, no,
future.
I'd love to. I'd love to, man. Like I said, I'm sorry I get to talking about things and I just get going. I love talking about it. It's like I said, I love doing what I do.
You make it very easy for me, that's for sure, for this podcast. Some future topics, like I want to get into communication, what you do for that, and in keeping communicated quality control as well, you mentioned, and just people in general, and how you identify people to move up into, say, that new role that you've created, or and how you evaluate people's progress and goal setting with employees and so on. So just a tease for a future episode, that's for sure.
Yeah, man.
My
I'll be
last
looking
question
forward
for
to it.
you. Yeah, my last question for you though, before I let you go, is I ask this question to every business owner that does come on the show, and that is one thing that you know now that you wish you knew from the very beginning. That could be personal related, that could be business related. It's a heavy one, it's a big one, but take it wherever you want. What is one thing you know now that you wish you knew from the very beginning?
There's so many.
Yeah.
No, people have asked me this before, and I think there's one thing that always comes to mind for me. It's professional and it's personal, which when you own a business, they those things are one and the same. You know, I may have a company logo on my chest and all our trucks, but everybody knows that that logo is me or me and my wife. That's what started, and I treat it like that. It's just will be my name on that shirt. But I think the hardest thing as you're growing, and there's a lot of peaks and valleys in business, man. Lots of up and down, and you can get very frustrated. And at whether it's finances or whether it's employees or just the rain, the weather, things are not going your way. You can get very, very frustrated. And I think one thing I would say is, I wish that I knew then to just believe in yourself more. I mean, believe in the process, believe what you're doing. Don't waver, don't second guess yourself, but believe in what you're doing. You know you love it. You know this is why you started the business. And it's as simple as not giving up, even though you want to, and even though maybe people are telling you, but just believe in yourself and believe in what you're doing.
Landon, I think that's a beautiful way to wrap up this round one. I am very much looking forward to a round two with you whenever you have the time. But where can our audience go find out more about you, yourself, Nob Hill Landscape? Where do you want to send them to? Where can they find out more?
Well, we're on all the social media, Facebook, Instagram, all those things. Knobhilllandscape.com is our website. We're right in the middle of doing a little bit of a remodel on that to kind of explain our process a little bit, what sets us apart. But yeah, you can find us on all the social media and knobhilllandscape.com.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast episode. If you wouldn't mind sharing this episode, if somebody who you think might find it valuable, or sharing the How to Hardscape podcast, that really does help us here. If you found this valuable, as well as a written review on Apple, Spotify review, wherever you can, those do go a long way for us. And I do thank you for listening to the How to Hardscape podcast. And before we leave you, we want to say thank you to our sponsors. Cycle CPA, if you're looking for bookkeeping, accounting, CFO services, reach out to Cycle CPA at cyclecpa.com. Let them know How to Hardscape sent you for money off their services there. PatioSEO.com. And now you know Patio SEO can take your hardscape business to the next level. James Reed and his expert team have built a reputation on success, not just for their own companies, but for hundreds of others just like yours. So don't wait. Visit patioseo.com to learn more and get started. But also be sure to follow James's journey on Instagram at Road to 100Ms. That's Road to 100Ms for behind the scenes tips and insights. And I do recommend checking that out and following along to that. Ready to build your brand? Patio SEO is here to help you every step of the way. If you're planning to go to Hardscape North America in Louisville, Kentucky, October 22nd to the 24th, you can use promo code VIPHTH to sign up, get 50% off your registration. That also gives us a little bit of a kickback and helps us here at the How to Hardscape podcast. And Knowledge Tree Consulting. George and Peter there are efficiency consultants in our industry, and I've had the privilege of having them both on one episode of the How to Hardscape podcast, and George multiple other times. Always great episodes, and I also got to sit down on a one-on-one with George and went through what they do for businesses, and I left that meeting with a lot of value, so I can't recommend them enough. If you want to learn more about what they do, go to knowledgetreeconsulting.com and get that conversation started with them today. And we look forward to meeting you next week on the How to Hardscape podcast.